Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Rajendran.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
In this episode, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Happy belated 4th of July. We know we took a week off last week just to get some personal stuff out, some trips, and times just didn't quite align for us in the week. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. News from last week, news from this week. But before we start it off and get into some of the other stuff, Devin Bush has been a little bit active on Twitter recently, and it's been pretty funny to watch, and other things are getting people pretty upset. So the first thing he said was, I'm going to paraphrase so I don't have to say words that might get us demonetized or in trouble in other ways. He said, if you're a grown man and you have TikTok on your phone, you better stay away from him, which, as a TikTok, or as a, tweet itself doesn't sound all that bad until you remember who he plays with. I mean, he plays on the team that had all the TikTok troubles last year. What are your guys' takes on that?
Well, I think Claypool responded to that, and I think he was fine with it. He wasn't like mad, but Devin Bush it's a great example to just be aware before you tweet. Like, know what your audience is, know who's going to see this. Just got to think before you act. And Devin Bush clearly didn't do that. And I think it's a mistake that he'll take a lesson from. He learned. But I think we have every right to clown this man because what are you doing? Like, why? But it's all in good faith. I mean, Claypool, Juju, they're probably fine with it. I don't think it's going to tear apart the locker room or do anything crazy. So it's fine, but I think Devin Bush should definitely learn his lesson in regards to that.
I think like in today's day and age, anything you say can and will be used against you, which is really funny. I think what he said was just, Claypool replied, he said, yikes, as a joke, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like Claypool and Juju are like really into this like TikTok stuff. Like they know TikTokers. I've seen it. Like they've collabed with them and stuff. Like I just find that, hey, you can do what you want in your free time. Just I felt like during the season, it kind of became a distraction, right? And even inadvertently it did. So, I kind of get where Devin Bush is coming from in that way, but the way he kind of said it was a little bit weird. And obviously with the whole Steelers TikTok drama last year, a little bit weird to reincite it in the dead part of the off season, so to speak. So I thought that was a little bit weird, but like Shrikar said, it's not going to have any big implications. Claypool and Juju are not the type of guys to like cause a locker room beef. Even with like AB kind of started it with Juju, so I don't think they're gonna do anything drastic. So this isn't anything that Steelers fans should worry about.
No, I just think it's funny too because Claypool and Juju enjoy themselves on TikTok, but for their brands and like making money and becoming successful online, like that has literally been so crucial to them. Like I understand, like, they have fun and they do the dances, but I really think like one of the reasons they do it is just because it furthers their like careers outside of football. 100%. As well.
Claypool has became a household name as a rookie.
Exactly.
A lot because of that. Like, I thought that was big for him.
I guess it's kind of like contrasting ways of, becoming a known name and getting attention is by making the TikToks or by tweeting stuff out like this. Another tweet he posted 2 days after also got some flack, said, see all these content creators with no more than 400 views and said, nah, you guys are bored people, I guess we'll say. That one, I didn't care about the first one. I'm like, just kind of like lighthearted, really just being dumb. I didn't appreciate that one. I think that one's kind of dumb. And I think a lot of people on this platform as well, whether that's podcasting or on YouTube, we've collaborated with a lot of people. Like the amount of views is not what like makes
incentivizes us or drives us.
No, and I feel like what makes you successful, and it's not what like is a representation of hard work. Like I guarantee you, there are people out there on YouTube with a lot less people than following them or viewing their stuff than Devin Bush is talking about, that's working just as hard as anyone else. Like, so I know, like, I remember when we were like at that level. It's not like we're any big thing now. We only got like 3,000 subscribers or so, but like, we were the most excited people in the world with 200. And so like, and I don't know, I know the work that went into that. So, that tweet, that one particularly didn't make me too happy. And that's when I decided, we can clown on this guy a little bit at the beginning of the podcast episode.
No, it's definitely out of pocket because just like Devin Bush is passionate about football, we're passionate about what we do. So for him to just kind of dog on content creators for doing what they love, just like he's doing, I just don't agree with it at all. And definitely a clown post. I don't agree with that at all. It's just, again, be aware of your audience
Yeah.
and who you're tweeting to, and just be aware of all of that.
Yeah, I think Devin Bush should really focus on kind of rehabbing that ACL injury and not
I know,
tweeting.
right?
I mean, you've got some recovery to do, guy. My guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he got injured in the Browns game, and ever since then, he's just trying. I guess he's trying to spark some stuff. I don't know, but yeah, I think as Shrikar said, people are passionate about different things, and views are not indicative or showcase like what what hard work goes into, and like every subscriber we got, we love each and every one of you. It doesn't matter how many views we get. So I think that's at least how we feel. And hey, if that's how Devin Bush feels, hey, he's only worsening it for himself. So
yeah.
And it's good because he's a Steeler. So
yeah,
just makes people hate the Steelers even more. So that makes me happy.
And to anyone who is out there, not getting more than 400 views, don't listen to Devin Bush. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I also think it's funny, like in that case, does he believe like if a football player is like goes undrafted, is he just a bored person? Is that just a hobby? Like,
yeah, I mean,
don't know,
it can go both
ways.
The
messages he's sending, like, I think he sends out these tweets, and like a lot of people do. There's when you have an audience like that, and a lot of these people are seeing it, like people are going to realize like, and they can take it whichever way they want. I'm sure when he said this, like he didn't mean anything by it, but like when you have an audience like that, your words are going to be dissected and they mean more. So like, I don't know. I think that the Steelers team is probably going to talk to him a little bit about like,
you know what's ironic? He's younger
quiet.
than Juju Smith-Schuster, I believe.
Yeah.
So I found that really funny.
That's rough.
Anyways, we're done ranting about Devin Bush. Let's get into the topics of the episode today, starting with the Cowboys were chosen for Hard Knocks. Then we'll get into Trevor Lawrence signing his rookie deal, some of our expectations for his rookie year. And then we're going to do another one of those over-under segments that we did where we take a team's Vegas odds, and we go over, under, or in some cases, we push about their record. We're talking about a couple teams today who we don't talk about very often, the Cardinals, the Saints, and the Vikings. But that'll be at the end of the episode. Let's talk now, guys, about the Cowboys being chosen for Hard Knocks, the really famous TV show now. It's become like a big deal every offseason. Cowboys a good choice?
Yeah, 100%. Ratings-wise, easily. It's America's team. Because for the past 2 years, I know last year was Chargers and Rams. The year before that was Raiders. Ratings were kind of going down. It is, one of the best football shows out there, but it's kind of on the decline. So getting the Cowboys is a big step up, in my opinion. And honestly, it could be very interesting too. Of course, they're going to focus on Jerry Jones. We can focus on Prescott and his recovery. We'll probably see, some long shot rookies. We'll see how that shakes out. It's just going to be like any other Hard Knocks, but I think ratings, this is a big boom for HBO because they needed a step up. And in my opinion, I don't think you could have done better than the Cowboys. Only other team that they could have went with, in my opinion, was Arizona, because I think they fit the criteria for what they're looking for in a Hard Knocks team this year. But Cowboys made a lot of sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think there's two ways to look at this, right? Is it good for Dallas or is it good for like us watching? I think it's good for us watching, not as good for Dallas, because again, the problem with Dallas is that they're just, again, they are America's team, so they're always scrutinized for everything. And that does affect them. Like, for example, Cleveland 2019, all these guys that get hyped a lot, it really affects them. So I thought for Dallas, it's not the best, but I think for us watching, you're right, Shrikar, like ratings will definitely go up. This will be one of the better Hard Knocks. And the criteria is you can't make the playoffs last 2 years and you can't have a rookie head coach. So that's the problem. Like a lot of these popular teams don't match that criteria because either they're good, right? Or they have a long standing head coach. Yeah. So, they don't, either the team doesn't have a long standing head coach. So the Cowboys finally have all the things for that. And I thought it was an easy choice. I think it was between the Cowboys, Panthers, and Cardinals. I would have personally, I would have loved to see Carolina.
Me too.
Because I would have loved to see like how Darnold adjusts and all that. But I think for like the viewership, obviously Dallas was the easy choice. And but I'll kind of ask you guys a question and kind of transition it. What is like there's always one player that stands out. For example, like the Raiders, it was Jonathan Abram. Like who do you think is like going to be one player on the Cowboys that's going to like stand out?
Stand out in what way? Like there's a lot of ways you can stand out.
Yeah, that's true. Show. I feel like meaning like they'll kind of make either a name for themselves or they'll kind of they'll be watched under, like people will say like, oh, okay, I like what I see from him. For example, because there are a lot of stars that, had down years last year, like Zeke or there's, guys
Already?
that, obviously Dak Prescott coming back, Michael Gallup, how's he going to, adjust being the third receiver, that type of thing, right? Like what is one guy?
One guy I'm already thinking of, and it's a guy that I've been pretty high on throughout the offseason, Tony Pollard.
I think
he can definitely break out this year. Zeke had a down year. Will Tony Pollard overtake Zeke? I won't say that just yet, but I think he is a better receiving back. And I think he can really carry the load for this Cowboys offense. People are actually like sleeping on him. Like Tony Pollard's a great back.
Yeah.
So I hope we get to see a lot of him in Hard Knocks, see how much he's improved, see what we're getting going into the season. But I think he's that guy for me.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Like I feel like these shows, like they kind of build it around storylines. So we're gonna get the receiver room, like what's the ordering there with Gallup, Cooper, and CD. We're gonna get Dak coming back from injury. We're gonna get the Jerry Jones thing, but I think a big one will be the running back thing. Like Zeke's on a decline, Pollard's kind of in waiting. Like what's gonna happen there? Will Zeke prove himself again and like rebound, or will Pollard continue to be right there behind him? I think that'll be definitely one of the storylines. And I think kind of the other one with anyone that's a first round rookie is going to get the focus on. And Micah Parsons is like kind of one of those polarizing guys we get to finally see him off the field. Like a lot of those, the allegations that came out about him, really there wasn't any proof that they were anything more than rumors, but now we're going to have an entire TV show with camera crews following him around basically. So we're going to see him on the field, making the transition to like learning the linebacker position even more, as well as seeing him off the field for the first time documented. And I feel like that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. So I think like a standout player, like I'm not going to say he's going to just blow up camp and everyone's going to love him, but I really think he'll be a very polarizing, focused on player.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who watched Parsons film a lot and then obviously did a video on him, I've defended him a lot on this podcast, and I think that's a good point that you mentioned, Jack. I think he's going to do fine. And I also think Zeke, the OSU fan in me, really, the lifelong Ohio State fan in me wants Zeke to bounce back, but I really don't know what's going to happen. But one player I was thinking of is Trevon Diggs. I think, now he's going to really have to step up his second year. He played well toward down the stretch, but, how is he going to do? We've seen him work out with his brother, right? So now how is he going to do in camp? Because he's got some competition always, right? In practice, he's going to either go against Amari, he's going to go against CD, he's going to go against Gallup. He's always going to get first team reps. So that's one guy I wanted to personally look at and see if he could develop and get better, because a lot of Cowboys fans are high on him. So let's see how good he can be. But yeah, that's one player that I thought you guys should keep an eye out for.
And I'd even say the cornerback room as a whole, because they drafted Kelvin Joseph second round. So that's going to be interesting.
Yep.
I think that like Hard Knocks also, like, they focus on the coach a lot, and I feel like Mike McCarthy might just be a really boring part of Hard Knocks. Like,
he already put himself in like such a bad situation. Like I don't think any of us really. I don't know if I wasn't a big fan of the hire at the time. I didn't think.
Like, I thought it was okay.
It grew on
like
me.
They
but
had
then
it was to keep them relevant because they needed someone with a name. But the thing is, he got figured out since 2018. He hasn't done anything. So like. I wasn't a fan of the hire in the sense that he's not just going to uplift this team. Like, nothing that they did stood out to me. I mean, they just like offensively too, in close one possession games. Yes, Cowboys fans will defend and they'll be like, oh, most of Dak's yards were, one possession, but they wouldn't do anything, to like, what do you call it? To get themselves build themselves a big lead. They would never do it. Yeah. So I was never a fan of Mike McCarthy, but yeah, even like personality wise, is not someone that's going to stand out.
No. I mean, I always like, it's not that I didn't like the hire. It just felt like a Dallas hire, as you said, to keep them relevant. And throughout the offseason, it kind of grew on me. And I was like, wait, maybe this could be good. Maybe, Dak could thrive. Maybe the defense will be better. And then the start of the regular season hit. And then you realize this is literally the same Jason Garrett Cowboys that we saw the past few years.
Honestly, worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, worse. You could argue that for sure. And honestly, I just don't know how it's going to work out this year. I don't even think the Cowboys go 500. Well, there's no 500, but I don't think they go above 500 this year. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But I think Mike McCarthy was an interesting hire, to say the least.
See, okay, one question though before we last one. Quick thing on Dak. Do you guys think he fully bounces back with the Yankees?
I do, and I think he's already on track to fully bounce back.
Yeah, I think he's going to be on track to play, but I'm saying, like, does he fully bounce back in terms of?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how sustainable his like couple game stretch was last year.
Yeah.
But bounce back
Oh,
to the point where, because I think he's a top 10 quarterback when healthy, to bounce back to that level, I really think he can get back there. And I think like overall, it's going to be a good season, especially for the viewer, like the Cowboys being as polarizing as they are and all the players and personalities there. It's going to be a great show. But I also think you're right, Anish. Like the fact that Dallas is always in like the limelight, they're always in the spotlight. I think that this show might just hurt them more than it will help them, because you're at teams that have that hype, and like they're always a little bit more scrutinized. Than when they don't do well, it's always like way more important.
Yeah.
Teams that kind of ride underneath, like honestly, like the Dolphins last year.
It's a weird factor. It just does.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like Colts last year, Colts in 2018 when Luck came back. Like there's just, I mean, examples of just teams flying under the radar that.
And then teams that got a lot of hype and they don't do well, like it seems more, I don't know exactly.
Way more scrutinized by the media and way more thrown out.
Like the Cardinals last year.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think it's good for us, good for HBO for sure. Not as good for the Dallas Cowboys. And
there's always that one team every year, and I can go, but like for example, I think we just mentioned Cardinals, then the Browns and the Vikings. I thought after they made the NFC Champions, just so many mistakes. So
yeah. But quickly moving on to our next topic, Trevor Lawrence has officially signed his rookie deal. I saw someone like with a satire Twitter account that almost tricked me a little bit, that in his contract was a stipulation where Tim Tebow could not take any direct snaps within the 5-yard line. And it was pretty funny.
Did you fall for that?
No, I didn't. It was when the little notification popped up, it was like recommended for you, and then I clicked on it and then I realized, but like without seeing it, I'm like, there's no way this is real, right? I'm like, another Jaguar screw up. But he signed his rookie deal, so he's going to be playing for the Jaguars, putting to bed and putting to rest the narrative last year where he's going to stay at Clemson or he's just not going to play for the Jaguars ever. That was all a bunch of crap. But what are some realistic expectations that you guys have for his rookie year? And you know, what's realistic to expect from him as a Jaguar year one?
I'll preface this by saying I don't expect Trevor Lawrence to lead the Jags to a winning record, and I don't think they even go just below 500. I think the Jags are still going to be the Jags. Like, I still think they're going to be bad. In terms of his individual performance, though, I think he'll be a great franchise quarterback, and he's going to prove that in year one. I think he'll go, let's do a quick stat prediction on yards real quick. I'll say 3,800 yards plus. He could definitely reach 4K in his first year. I mean, it's tough to really put a nail on a rookie's stat predictions, but for Trevor Lawrence, it feels like it's the easiest in a while. I just don't know why, but it's easy for me. I just hope he pans out, and it's not going to all happen in year one. I think it's going to be something that takes some time, development, and energy. Honestly, I'm more worried about Urban Meyer than Trevor Lawrence. That's just my opinion. I'm pretty worried about Urban Meyer, but in terms of Trevor Lawrence, I think he'll do fine, and I think he will show that he is Jacksonville's franchise quarterback in year one, and they'll continue to build around him next offseason.
I don't think Urban Meyer's calling plays. Do you guys know for sure? I don't think so. I don't think he is.
I haven't seen anything about that.
So that actually helps, because I think Urban Meyer's more of like a Pete Carroll, right? Like kind of a motivator, that type of guy. So I'm glad, and also, you know, he's worked with young quarterbacks, so that kind of helps. But I've got bigger expectations. I've got some high ones for him. I really think he can get them 7 wins. I genuinely think that. I think his talent, one thing as an Ohio State fan has taught me is to not count this man out. This dude can make plays with his legs, his arms. And like stat wise, obviously I think 3,800 plus. I honestly think that's a given. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I think 24 touchdowns also plus. This dude is amazing. Like he's got the build for it. He's got the arm. He's got the legs. I think. And one thing, people are kind of counting out this receiver duo. I think DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault, I think that's a very underrated duo that could, you know, do some damage. Laviska Shenault was a 2nd-round pick for a reason. Like he was really good in college. It was a loaded 2020 class. We just really haven't seen him yet, but he's like a mini Debo in my opinion, just because how versatile he is, like especially running the ball and stuff. So I like that. I think their O-line is decent. They're still led by Lindor, manning the center. So I think they can be good. And their defense, right? Miles Jack, CJ Henderson, they've got some young pieces. So I genuinely I'm not going to guarantee 7 wins. I wouldn't say that, but I think in the over under, I said over and I said 7.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little bit hopeful, but I really think they could. I think, the Jags played a lot of close games last year, and I think they got better. I think Trevor Lawrence could really do it. So, because he's a lot better than what they had, in my opinion. So I think I've got some pretty high expectations for him.
Thinking about it now, they would have been a perfect team for Hard Knocks if they met those stipulations. If they didn't have the rookie head coach, like, that would be perfect. But I'm not as hopeful as you. I don't think they're going to win that many games. And while I wouldn't put it past Lawrence, I do kind of put it past this Jaguars roster, and I'm still not sold on Urban Meyer. So like that's why, like, he is definitely a quarterback that could bring the team or a team to a 7-win season his rookie year, but not this team. I really don't think. But I do think that he will solidify himself as, like, he's definitely the franchise quarterback. A lot of rookie seasons, you're kind of left with questions, like Baker Mayfield was like kind of that one quarterback the rookie year where you weren't left with questions. Even then, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, especially Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold, there were those questions that one rookie year. And Kyler Murray had that kind of year where he supplanted himself as, like, there's no questions there. But other quarterbacks recently, there have been questions, like Tua. Herbert's another one of those that, like, did supplant himself. And I think that's what I'm expecting from Lawrence, and maybe even a little bit better than that. Like, supplanting himself is, I'm definitely here to stay. Like, you don't need to have any questions. There won't be any talks about him being a bust. That's my expectation. I don't like doing statistical predictions because, like, you, especially for a quarterback position, like, you really don't know. And because quarterback stats, like,
quarterback success is not based on stats, in my opinion. Like,
no, it's not.
And we don't know exactly the type of offense they're going to run. Like, we don't know what they're planning. So statistical predictions for something like that, like a receiver, is a little bit easier. Like, I'm expecting them to get over 1,100 yards. But when you're,
and 17 games, you don't really know now how the stats are going to look. So I think this is a year where it's hard to predict all those stats. But I will say one thing too: if Baker Mayfield could lead his team to 7 wins as a rookie, and if Justin Herbert could, I think Trevor Lawrence is better than both. So I'm just saying that. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think, and maybe we'll eat our words, but I'm not buying in yet to Urban Meyer. I'm not buying in yet to this Jaguars roster. They just need to show me a little bit more. And maybe in the first couple of weeks, if I see how this team is functioning, maybe I'll change that around a little bit. But for now, I'm gonna kind of stick to not 7 wins. I don't think they're going to go that high. I think the over-under was 6.5, right?
6.5.
I think
you guys
I said
both
under.
I think you said 4.
I think 4
I
or
took
5.
under.
I think 5. Me too. I think
5.
5 wins. But I really do think Trevor Lawrence has a good year, and I'm expecting him to win Rookie of the Year. Like, when I did my Kyle Pitts video, I really wanted to throw in at the end, like, I really think Kyle Pitts, Offensive Rookie of the Year frontrunner. But we've seen in recent years, if you're not a quarterback, you are not winning that award. Like, it does not matter if you're a quarterback and you do well, you're automatically going to be favored for that award. So I'll go out and say right now, I think that Trevor Lawrence has a really solid year. I'm not going to say he's going to break records yet, because that's maybe a little bit too high for me. He definitely has the ability to, but that's something you don't really predict. I think he's going to have a very solid year. At the end of the year, probably in the top 15 quarterbacks for sure, if he's not, like, already there in some people's rankings now. And I think that he has a very good chance, and I'll say he probably ends up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year for sure.
I agree.
Moving on then to our next over-under segment that we just kind of mentioned with the Jaguars. We've got 3 teams. We got their Las Vegas win record prediction, or their over-under. If you were going to bet that, and you would go over-under, these are the the win totals that are there in Vegas. We've got 3 teams, and like the last time we did this, you're going to go over, under, or push if you think they're going to get exactly the number. We're starting with the Arizona Cardinals. We also mentioned earlier their over-under Vegas record odds are at 8. So in a 17-game season, Vegas has them at 8 wins. You got to pick over, under, or push. Why don't you start, Shrikar?
Oh boy. I'll go over, and I'll say the Cardinals get 9 wins. The thing with the Cardinals is Kyler Murray taking that, big leap in year 3. Will it happen? Will it not? And also, this is the second year with D-Hop. So I don't know, but I think it's safe for me to say that they will get 9 wins. It's a very, very, very tough division. So I think the Cardinals are going to get last, and having them last with 9 wins is just insane to me. But I'm going to go over. I think Kyler Murray does improve. And really, if the Cardinals go under 500, I would look at Cliff Kingsbury's job and see if he's on the hot seat right now. Because in my opinion, Cliff Kingsbury is literally like one bad year away from being fired, and it need to be like pretty bad. So him going under 500 would have me looking at the hot seat for him, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he barely goes over 500, and I'll say 9-8. I don't think that's going to be enough to take them to the playoffs, though, because again, it's the NFC West.
So I'm gonna take the over. Uh, I'm going to 10, I think 10, because so last year I believe they had the same over under win total. And I said they were a year away last year. And I think here's the thing. They were 8-6. They were kind of proving me wrong, and then obviously Kyler kind of got hurt, and I think that kind of derailed them. But Kyler was sensational in year two. I thought he took that leap. He was having a top 5 year prior to his injury, so I think he's already kind of cemented himself as like a top 10 quarterback. So yeah, so I think in Srikar's year 3 leap, I think maybe he's borderline top 10. Obviously, he's like in that 9 to 12 range. But yeah, I think what Srikar's saying, like if that year 3 leap, kind of like a Josh Allen type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So if he can do that, obviously this Cardinals team could do well. I think they so I think they split with Seattle. I think they split with SF, and I think the only team that could sweep them is the Rams. But I think they could push 10 wins. I really do. And I don't know. I think they could, Seattle and them could be both 10-7, and who's last, I don't know. So I'm gonna say the over though.
Yeah, I think I contemplated pushing. I did like as 8-9 or 8-1. But I'm going to take the over as well, whether it's 9 or 10 wins. I agreed last year with you, Anish, that they were a year away from from being playoff hopefuls. I thought they were being playoff contenders. Other playoff hopefuls last year didn't pan out. And I think this year they're real contenders for the playoffs. And even though they're in a stacked division, like they're still a great team. And so when I was thinking about it, did they get better this offseason? I think they definitely did. Bringing in J.J. Watt, as well as I think another year with Isaiah Simmons being able to kind of learn and figure out his role. I'm expecting a big year from Isaiah Simmons this year. I expected it last year, and he just really wasn't used a lot. And I think that we didn't quite know what their plan was going to be for him. But we saw, like with Hassan Reddick, with them, after he got a couple years in the system to learn his role, he really exploded last year. And I think that Isaiah Simmons, a better prospect, can do that a little bit faster, and not being a pass rusher will make it a little bit easier. So I think that Isaiah Simmons taking a step, bringing in J.J. Watt, improving that defense, and giving Kyler just one more year in this offense, I do think that they get better, win 9 or 10 games, and we'll see about the playoffs. But I agree with you, Shrikar. I think it's not that like this year could put Kingsbury on the hot seat. I would argue he is now. Like I really do think Kingsbury's on the hot seat right now. So if they push, like if they get 8 wins, I really think that he would be fired. And even if they get 9 and that's missing out on the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if he's fired on that too. People got to realize when he was hired, so he was hired from USC, but he never actually coached there. It's because he was just hired from Texas Tech. Yeah. He had a losing record. He had a losing record as a college coach. Like, so the fact that he's come in, and if he posts 3 losing seasons in his first 3 in the NFL, like I really don't think you can keep him there, because you expect like some people are just honestly better as coordinators. Some people are better as coaches. Some people are, good at developing players. Some people are better at winning games. And so I think this is where we're going to find out exactly what Kingsbury is. He wasn't great at winning games in college. If he proves that he's, he can't win as many games this year in the NFL, I really think that his time is done as the head coach of the Cardinals.
And maybe Kingsbury's better off as a coordinator, as an offense coordinator. He may be a lot better. But yeah, I think I agree with you there. Even 9-8 puts him, firmly like on the hot seat.
Yeah, especially if that misses out on the playoffs.
Yeah, I think 9-8 would. I mean, dude, this is just teams are getting more top. But that's the thing. Like the NFL, there's always so much parity. But it's just like which teams are going to take that leap, right? So there's always like, I feel like nowadays, like 10-7 is what you kind of need, and it's even then it's going to be a little bit close.
Yeah, when you start looking past records, every team has shots, and like every team, like when you look at this, like the storylines and everything like that in the NFL, really every team is good. It's just kind of like which teams fall off mid-season, which teams there's a lot of pieces, and some teams figure it out. And I think the Cardinals, this is that year. Are they going to figure it out, or are they kind of going to have to shift gears a little bit? So we all take the over, but sometimes the over wouldn't be enough. I feel like if they put the Cardinals number at like 8.5 or 9, like if they put it at 9, I think that's where I would have put it, I think, because then Yeah,
think
I don't know.
People are going to take the over on an 8.
Yeah, me too. I think so. But our next team is the Saints, and their number is 9. So a year after Drew Brees, they're getting a healthy Michael Thomas, a healthy Alvin Kamara. It's, like they've got everything going to be in place, but it's Jameis Winston this time, and the number is 9 wins. Shrikar, what do you think? Over, under, or push?
Okay, Saints are definitely the toughest of the 3 teams we're going to do, in my opinion. I'm honestly going to push. It's at 9 wins. I'm going to push because I'm not going to go under because I'm not going to underestimate what Sean Payton can do with Jameis Winston, and the defense is still solid. Like, it's not bad. I just don't see a world in which Jameis Winston goes 10-7 though. It's just I can't picture that in my head. So I think 9-8 is fair. I know you guys are higher on Jameis Winston on the Saints than I am, so I'm partially invested in Winston. I'm not like quite there yet. I wouldn't put it past Winston to really kind of break out in a Sean Payton offense, though. We've seen what Sean Payton can do. You know, we've seen it with Teddy Bridgewater. We've seen it with good old Taysom Hill, but I don't think they're going to go 10-7. I think it'll be 9-8.
I was also going to push, and I still am going to push. So Jameis Winston has 1 winning season on his record. I bet a lot of people don't remember this. It was 2016. They lost the tiebreaker for the playoff. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, he went 9-7. So he's had his moments. He's the definition of an up and down inconsistent quarterback. But a full year under Sean Payton and under Drew Brees, I think that definitely helps him, right? And obviously he's not going to be able to utilize his weapons as well as Drew Brees, I think, at his peak, obviously. And also he's not as smart with the football, so to speak. We also
literally polar opposites.
Yeah,
they're literally polar opposites.
We haven't seen him since the laser eye surgery, like fully, right? And the one time he stepped in was a touchdown pass against the Bears. So we really don't know what we're gonna get.
Did you see the dimes he was throwing this week to Traquan Smith?
Was it? I didn't.
Yeah, they had like this really cool camera angle view of like really over the top, and he was throwing touchdowns and just dimes to Traquan Smith.
I'm high on. I think he'll do well, but obviously in a loaded NFC, right? I don't even think it's how good he will do. It's just how good the Saints will do compared to their competition. True. They've got a tough schedule this year. For example, they open right away against Green Bay, so I thought that's also tough, right? Like, the NFC South, I think all the teams got better. Carolina, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay is just Tampa Bay. So it's going to be really hard for them. I don't think they sweep Tampa Bay like they did last year. So, those are some losses they're going to pile up a little bit. But yeah, I think, they've got the pieces. I think Michael Thomas, we're going to expect a bounce back year, right? I still think he's going to do fine. It really just comes down to how the Saints do compared to their competition. I think that's what it comes down to. And that's why I think they're going to push. I think they're going to go 9-8. I think that's the most realistic scenario. I would honestly, what has a higher chance? I honestly think they could exceed expectations. I think that's a higher chance just because of what they have in store. But I think 9 wins is a realistic thing for a guy like Sean Payton, who is one of the best coaches in the league. So I'm going to push it.
I mean, this team was a Super Bowl contender with Drew Brees. Drew Brees, who wasn't all that great last year, even who just didn't look like himself. So, and they didn't lose very much. And obviously Drew Brees, with all the injuries that his wife tweeted out, like all the ones he had, like I think it was 13 broken ribs or something like that, and everything else. So it makes sense why he wasn't himself, but they didn't lose much. I mean, their defense is almost completely the same. They lost Trey Hendrickson, but I think that the fact they turned him into a very capable pass rusher means they can kind of do that with anyone. And they've still got Kamara. They've got Michael Thomas coming back. Like, they were as good as they were last year without Michael Thomas catching a touchdown pass in the regular season. So, I think that this team, everyone's just assuming because Drew Brees is gone, they're going to just fall off like crazy. But even a fall off, I think 10-7 is very realistic because they were a team that everyone's like, oh, they could go 14-2. They were a 13-3, like that kind of level team. So losing Drew Brees and replacing him with a Jameis Winston, yes, maybe that sounds like
a team can finally throw the ball downfield. Traquan Smith is a guy that thrives off that. Emmanuel Sanders, the same thing, right?
Yep.
Actually, I don't know if he's on the. I think he's still is, right?
He's on the Bills.
He's on the Bills. Bills.
Yeah, but Traquan Smith, I know Michael Thomas can also do it and catch passes down the field. But yeah, those two guys, I think Traquan could have a really good year this year.
And it'll open up the running game for Kamara too. So I think this team, is it bad? Or is it like wrong to say that they might be better off with Jameis Winston than Drew Brees this year? Like if Drew Brees was still
I wouldn't
playing
win.
this
Not
year,
quite.
like, so I think I'm going to go over for sure. I'm going over. I think it's even a possibility 11-6, but as of now, I'll say 10-7 because if they, like we said, all the other NFC South teams are pretty good. So like if they split with every single team, they go 3-3 and they lose to the Packers week 1, then that's 7 games out of the way. And as long as they don't lose another, what would that be? Another 4 games.
Yeah.
Then they're 9-7.
Yeah,
And
I think
that's
it's
assuming
just-
they're not
yeah.
sweeping the Falcons.
It really depends on what version of Jameis Winston you get, because as you said, is it really a step down? It depends. If Jameis Winston comes out and play bad, which I'm
Basically,
not wishing
it's
that
just
upon him or anything.
he gets in his own way. That's the problem. So
Exactly.
But we haven't
that's
seen
the
him in
whole
a while.
point. That's the question. Because he can uplift a team, but he can also bring them completely
But maybe
down.
Sean Payton can limit that. So I don't know.
Well, or
and
Drew
I think
Brees
he
last
can't. I
year
think
teaching
learning
him.
under Drew Brees, he's the best person to learn under.
Yep.
So that's why I have faith in him. But I just think the only reason I'm going 9 and not like 10 or 11 is just because of the competition in the NFC around him. That's the only reason.
Yeah, like the Saints, they're still a team where I'm just not expecting them to like only win half the games they play.
Yeah.
Like they're a team that I still think like I can have a lot of confidence in winning a majority of their games. And so like to play it safe, I'm definitely going over. Like I still think that's not even I think that their number probably could have been at 10 or 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 would have been
9.5 I think would have been
been
perfect.
solid.
Yeah.
But our last team is the Vikings. No pushing on this one, boys. 8.5 is their total. Shrikar, why don't you start us off again?
I'm gonna take the over on this one. I think the Vikings honestly go, 10-7, I'll say. Here's the thing. Kirk Cousins, over the past few years, has been labeled as a guy who can't win you games. And I heavily disagree with that. Because if you give Kirk Cousins the right pieces, which the Vikings are doing, he has Jefferson, he has Thielen. They just drafted Christian Darrisaw to help out the O-line. If you give Kirk Cousins the right pieces, he's going to win you games. And I think the Vikings are doing exactly that. The defense, I'm still slightly concerned about, but it is a lot better. It's not quite, what a Mike Zimmer defense should look like, but I still think it's a lot better off than it was last year. So I think that's going to help them out a lot. But again, we're talking about the NFC. This is really tough for the Vikings, and especially with the Packers in their division, that's going to make it tough as it is. But I think the Vikings can do it. I think we will, this will be a team that is kind of flying under the radar, but I think we're going to see them have a great year, and I think they'll go 10-7. So I'm going to take the over on the Vikings.
I'm taking the over, and I'm pretty confident on it. There were 2 sleeper teams that I had in the NFC. I have to still look into it if I'm really going to buy into it, but the Panthers and the Vikings were 2 that I think could take a step up. I believe in the Vikings. I think, like Shrikar said, I think the knock on Kirk Cousins was it wasn't that he couldn't win you games, he couldn't win you big games. That was the knock. And even still, I disagree with the win over the Saints, but again, there's still some of that question. But you're right, Darrisaw was a good pickup. But one thing that people didn't mention is Danielle Hunter's coming back. Michael Pierce is there, Dalvin Tomlinson, and one name I want people to know, and I'm really happy. He's like my Jamel Dean for this year, Cameron Dantzler. I think he's a really good cornerback. He's gonna have to play a little bit of that number 1 role. So I'm a little bit scared of that, but he is really, really good.
He also has Pat Pete to learn from.
Yeah, he has Pat Pete to learn from. And then also Xavier Woods learning under Harrison Smith. That's another good thing. So the secondary is going to be a lot better than last year, in my opinion. And for the Vikings, again, they always do this up and down carousel every other year. So that's a little bit of why I think they'll go 10-7. But yeah, Justin Jefferson is special. He's special. He is really good. And I think, again, another year learning on behind Adam Thielen, who I think is still really, really good. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league. I think these guys are going to be great. Again, they still have Dalvin Cook. I think they've signed him long-term, 5 years, 60-something mil. So this team is going to be great. Eric Kendricks, top 5 linebacker, in my opinion. So I think they've got all the pieces. Now it just comes down to, again, the competition around them. But I think this defense takes some strides and really puts themselves back in, this top 15, maybe even top 10 unit. So I think I'm going to take the over. And I like my odds on the over.
You guys almost had me there because I was leaning under and you almost had me going to over, but I can't do it. I'm just not a believer in the Vikings like you guys are. I think it's maybe more than I'm not a believer in Zimmer and like just the way this team has looked the last couple of years. Like they just haven't really shown me any like fire, like any flashes like you like to talk about, Anish. Is like those teams that you can believe in. They don't make me confident thinking about the Vikings going out and winning a football game. Like going out and playing the Bears or the Packers or other teams in the NFC, like if they were playing the Saints, like they just don't strike up any fear in me as an opposing team. And I'm not feeling very confident about them winning over, what Vegas has them at. So I really think they're an 8-win team. Like, honestly, this is a perfectly placed over under number because they're right in between. I think they're a 500 team, but this year there's no 500.
Exactly.
So like you're either going 8-9 or you're going 9-8. And I think just because I'm not a big believer in them, and just because I'm just not very confident, like strolling into a Sunday, if we were doing picks and it was an even matchup, I wouldn't lean towards the Vikings.
I'm excited for picks this year.
Picks are going to be so fun this year.
I wouldn't lean towards the Vikings. I really wouldn't. So I'm going to say that they go under. I really think they win 8 games. As much as I love a lot of their players and I love a lot of what they have going on there, I wonder if it's a coaching issue for me. I'm not too confident in them this year to go out and win 9 football games and week to week be confident in them. So I got to lean towards the under and play it safe a little bit. Anything else you guys want to talk about this episode? We could squeeze some stuff in. Anything more that you guys want to mention about any of the things we've talked about?
Hey, Devin Bush, you suck. No.
Yeah, Steelers. Please, guys, if you guys are on our side, don't like the Steelers. Come over to the Browns,
I thought another thing we didn't mention is Zach Banner, the tackle who was hurt last year, said like he was on a flight, but when he was getting home, he was going to take Devin Bush's phone. And I think the Steelers should just do that. I think the Steelers should do that.
Yeah.
They've had some really weird phone incidents, okay? Antonio Brown's live. I mean, dude, they just put themselves – they're literally the AFC version of the Cowboys, in my opinion.
They are.
They are. Do stupid stuff. Like, you know what? Hey, I'm not complaining.
Hey, put Devin Bush on timeout, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not complaining at all.
But
one thing, it's completely random, but Eli Manning is better than Big Ben all time. There, I think we can end.
You literally say that like you'll randomly say that about once a month.
Once a month, but I have to. I just have to say it.
And he goes. We're talking. What should we do this episode? Like, what should we talk about this episode? And we're like,
Eli Manning
some
versus
stuff in our document. He's like,
Manning.
okay, guys, hear me out. What if we did a debate? Eli Manning versus Big Ben. And I'm
we have never really full dive in length Eli Manning.
Okay, you've got 30 seconds. Make your case. Go.
All right, go.
Okay, Eli Manning. Okay, he's literally ESPN did a metric. He's the most clutch quarterback of all time. He has 2 best playoff throws in NFL history, and I don't even think it's close. Yes, he doesn't have the full statistics, but he still had 4 Pro Bowl years. His 2011 season was really good, and I thought he uplifted his team in every playoff game he's played in. There, I think that's.
What about the Big Ben throw to win the Super Bowl in the corner of the end zone?
Santonio Holmes.
Good. That was good. I thought it was good, but
that was one of the cleanest throws I've ever seen.
That was a really good pass, but I just think that Super Bowl James Harrison's pick was more. I think it was more impactful, overall game than I thought that throw.
Okay, but which was a better throw? Which is a better throw, the touchdown to Santonio Holmes or the David Tyree helmet catch?
David Tyree, 100%. Because Manning had to escape the sack.
More iconic throw
off his back foot. I know it was to his helmet, but it was still a perfect throw in between 3 defenders over Rodney Harrison, one of the best safeties of all time. I thought that was insane.
Do you think Eli Manning completes that Santonio Holmes throw?
Manningham throw is the most accurate throw I've ever seen in my life. Like, that was insane. I don't think I've ever seen a better pass. Like that was crazy. So,
but if Eli Manning was in Big Ben's shoes,
that was just a random once a month segment that we do. But hopefully you guys are excited about picks. That's another thing. I'm really excited about
picks. Are gonna be so fun, man.
Let's see if Shrikar can end his Bears curse. That's
get out of the gutter too.
All our OG viewers, the terrible.
I'm not losing this year.
Not losing this year.
We should do an over under on the Bears. Whatever Shrikar does, we pick the exact opposite.
Over under on Srikar's record this year.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Wait. There's not 256 games. There's 200.
I forget what we had last year. We're gonna have to go back in depth, and we got to decide whether we're gonna do that.
Well,
we have it somewhere.
Just remember
if you guys are still here, you're the real fans. Let us know how you think we should do picks this year. Whether you think we should do 2 podcast episodes a week, or do 1 and then picks is like a shorter, quicker segment where we should maybe only talk about a couple of the big games and then give the full picks out on Twitter or Instagram. We got to figure it out a little bit. These 2 are going off to college before I am, so they're going to be busy. We're going to figure it all out, but we're excited for picks. We're excited to keep talking football with you guys. If you're still here, let us know in the comment section on YouTube, if you're watching there, what you thought about some of the topics we talked about, what you thought about Anisha's opinion, Big Ben or Eli Manning. There's a lot of stuff. Converse with us down in the comment section. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you really enjoyed, and if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else, please consider leaving a 5-star review. It will really help us out. But other than that, you can check out our Instagram and our Twitter. Keep updated with us week to week. We've been the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. We've enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next time.